I took the winter contract because I needed the money and the quiet. 6 weeks at an Arctic research outpost, collecting weather data, checking instruments, and logging reports. I told myself it would be peaceful, maybe even cleansing. No internet, no people, just me, my colleague Eric, and the white silence of the polar night. When the last supply plane left, I remember the sound of the engines fading into the wind. After that, there was only stillness, the kind that presses against your ears until you start hearing your own pulse. The first week was fine. We worked in shifts, kept the heaters running, shared freeze-dried meals, and tried to stick to a routine. The sun hadn't risen in days, but that was normal here. The darkness wasn't what scared me at first. It was what the darkness began to do to Eric. He stopped sleeping full nights. I'd hear him pacing in the hallway between our bunks, mumbling under his breath. At first, I thought it was stress. Isolation messes with people. I'd been through cold nights before, but this was different. One morning, if you can call it morning when the sky never changes, I found Eric standing at the window in the main room. The glass was rimmed with ice. He hadn't blinked in what felt like minutes. When I asked if he was okay, he said, "They were closer last night." I asked who he meant. He didn't look away. The things that move when the wind stops. I laughed it off. Told him maybe he needed sleep. But he wasn't joking. His eyes were sunken, bloodshot, fixed on the black void outside. That night, I stayed up late doing data entries. The wind died around 2 in the morning, and the silence that followed felt wrong. I thought I heard something. Not the creak of the building or shifting ice. It sounded like snow crunching. Slow, deliberate steps. I froze. The station was surrounded by nothing for miles. No animals, no trees. The only thing that could make that sound was a person. I went to the window where Eric had been earlier. My breath fogged the glass. Nothing but darkness. I turned off the light to see better, and for a split second I thought I saw movement, something pale against the black. I didn't tell Eric. I didn't want to feed into whatever was happening to him. But the next night the same thing happened, the same rhythm of footsteps. This time, Eric heard them too. He looked at me and whispered, "You hear them now, don't you?" I wanted to say no, but the sound was too clear. It came from all around, circling the building. We grabbed flashlights and opened the outer door. The cold punched through my clothes. The air burned in my throat. The snow outside was smooth except for a single line of prints, bare feet leading away into the dark. Eric followed them before I could stop him. He walked out maybe 20 feet, his light bobbing in the distance. Then he froze. "Do you see it?" he said. I didn't. The beam of his flashlight trembled, then dropped. He screamed once. I ran toward him, but there was nothing there, no Eric. Only his flashlight lying in the snow still on. I spent that night barricaded inside the control room with the radio. Static was all I got. The storm must have knocked the antenna down. I sat there until the light from the flashlight outside finally died. By morning, I convinced myself Eric had wandered too far and collapsed from exposure. I tried to believe it, but part of me knew better. The prints that led away from the station didn't end where his flashlight had fallen. They came back. For 3 days, I didn't sleep. I heard footsteps on the roof, whispers near the vents. My reflection in the window started to look wrong, like it was watching me instead of mirroring me. I found Eric's notebook on his bunk, full of sketches, white faces with hollow eyes, circles of figures around the station. He'd written one line over and over at the end. "They wait for the quiet." On the 5th day alone, the generator began to die. Without heat, I knew I wouldn't last long. I rationed what was left of the food and tried to fix the fuel lines, but the cold had warped the pipes. That night, I heard the sound again. Closer this time. Heavy breathing. The outer door rattled. I held the only weapon I had, a metal rod from a shelf, and waited. The door stopped moving. Then came a knock. 3 slow knocks. I didn't answer. Another knock, then Eric's voice. "It's freezing out here. Let me in." Every instinct screamed to open it, but something was off. The words sounded right, but the tone was hollow, like a recording. I whispered, "Where's your flashlight?" No answer. Then the voice said, "They don't need it anymore." The doorknob twisted once and went still. The next morning, I found prints in the snow again, bare feet circling the building, some smaller, some larger. I stopped counting after 12. The following nights blurred together. I started losing track of time. I'd wake up to whispers under the floor. Shadows moved across the walls, though there was no light source. I started seeing Eric standing in the corner of the room, his head tilted, lips moving silently. When I blinked, he was gone. The generator finally failed, and the temperature inside dropped fast. My hands shook so badly I couldn't write anymore. I tried the emergency beacon again, still dead. I remember sitting near the last candle, trying to stay awake. I thought I heard a voice from the radio, faint but real this time. A woman's voice saying my name. Then it cut out. When the rescue team finally reached the outpost weeks later, they found the station empty. The logbook ended mid-sentence. No sign of a struggle, no bodies. Only 2 sets of prints in the snow, both barefoot, leading away into the open ice until they vanished. The report blamed hypothermia and psychological stress, but the rescuers refused to stay the night there. They said after dark, the wind stopped, and they heard footsteps circling the station, slow, deliberate, crunching through the snow.